costs, and on and on and on. So if you're getting BS at the bottom, you've got to stand up and say no. You've got to appeal to your conscience. So law enforcement, if you're ever told to do anything unconstitutional, don't do it. Stand up for the people. Stand up for your kids and their kids. What kind of a country are you going to leave them? Learn about Executive Order 11,110. How JFK tried to free the American people. How America could have set a shining light example for the rest of the world. How just with sound currency and true capitalism, we could have ended poverty in America. The greatest threat to these top money masters at the top of the economic food chain. The greatest threat. Because if you just end poverty and you ended crime thereby by so doing, and you ended all the financial oppression through debt, okay, that would go away. All these things would slowly go away, and all the crime, and you had this safe world. All the dubious warfare would end. And we had a rising tide of prosperity across the board. So gradually we became free as a society, and around the world they could copy the example of what we did and how we attained sound currency through checks and balances, through true capitalism, with supply and demand capitalism, through accountability, by saying, look, if there's not a disruption in the supply chain, we want to see our money increase in value, the currency increase in value. We want to see more and more abundance. That's progress, because we find easier and easier methods to produce the things we not only need, like food and shelter and clean water and energy sources, but the things we want as well. So unless there's a disruption in the supply chain through a drought, which causes a famine, so temporarily, things become more dear and your money is debased as the cost of that particular commodity goes up. But then as soon as the famine is over, the drought is over, then we want prices to assume. So we, the people at large, the communities, the society, the civilization has to be the overseer. That's who holds these people accountable, is we the people at large, saying, no, we're going to progress. We are going to advance, and we're going to have this sound currency. We're going to have freedom. We're going to have liberty. We're going to have security. Okay? We're not going to be beholden someday. We're not going to be stifled. We're going to feel free to move from city to city, town to town, as we feel as we please, as we want to, as it used to be in this country. Okay? That's what we demand. But until that time, until, we the people, literally, we the people, that means not some people, but we the people, all of us, all the awake people, have to have control of the money printing presses. Things aren't going to change. That's it. The politicians aren't going to do it. It goes against their interests, because they've been advantaged greatly by the schism, by this wealth disparity that's been created just for all my whole life. The debasement of our currency, while these people just take more and more. It's all about numbers, they figure. So if the currency has been debased 90%, well, I'm just going to take, 1,000 times. They don't care. I mean, they just take so much more. I'll just be a billionaire. It used to be a millionaire was rich 50 years ago, so I don't care. I'm a billionaire now. So I've got, $1,000 million. I don't care how much the currency is debased. See what they've done to us. See what they've done and how they've done it. That's what we've all got to understand. Basic fundamental economic principles. Basic capitalist supply and demand free market principles, folks. And then you will understand what the end game really is and should be and would be if good was running our economic system. If guys like JFK, if guys like Martin Luther King Jr. had their way, America would be a beautiful place today with very, very, very low crime, just a few perverts out there probably, psychos, something mentally defectives would, might commit some bizarre crimes. There'd be no dubious war. There might be a righteous war, because if you muster up enough psychos together, you might have to fight them and take them down. There'd be no debt, because everybody would be prosperous. You understand how if it happened gradually, how this rising tide of prosperity happened gradually. We still played the money game, but only with the understanding that it was temporary. And as your currency increased in value, you could clearly understand. You could tell me where that ends. So if your money is increasing in value steadily and gradually over time, for all commodities, not some commodities, but all commodities, you tell me what the end is. Are you going to care to get money for whatever services or commodities you offer the public? No, you're not going to care anymore because your cost of living is so low, the game has been nullified. That's it. It's been rendered irrelevant. And all our cruel money master overlords that have inverted our reality, given us this pseudo reality, they're going to be rendered irrelevant and nullified as well. And that's what they don't want. And they're going to fight tooth and nail. And they're furious at the fact that the truth is coming out. It's coming out through people understanding things like that there is truly suppressed clean technology, that hydrogen technology is from the 18th century, and that the first cars that rolled off the assembly line could easily have been producing hydrogen on demand. We could have been free from oil as a combustion material a long time ago. And so we've got to understand just how profoundly, how acutely we've been duped and continue to be duped to this day, and how it's a tough pill to swallow. But it is reaching a breaking point. So the good news is good will prevail. Whether or not, I get struck dead tomorrow, whether I'm alive to see it, I don't know. Every day it's more painful because our currency continues to be debased. Things keep getting harder. The wealth disparity keeps growing. And I can point to evidence where the home ownership continues to decline in America. It is like we're all living in motels. The whole idea of ownership is meaningless now. I mean, ever since they came up with property tax, who can own any real property? And the only real property I'm talking about is real estate. I'm not talking about terms of real in the existential sense. I'm talking about real in the property value sense, because all other property is considered personal property, unless it's real estate, land or housing. So if you're paying property tax, who owns the property? You're paying in perpetuity. So somebody else owns that property in perpetuity. Who is this, this nebulous government we're talking about? So you're paying property tax in perpetuity to the government, when really in America, the government is supposed to be we the people. You see the absurdity of this? How the whole meaning of ownership has been turned on its head. So understand, this thing has got to break. This Ponzi scheme has to be exposed. It has to fail, because it could never succeed. It was designed to work only temporarily to get as far as these people could get with this running start of fraud and getting away with cold-blooded murder, of presidents like JFK, who tried to change things because they don't want to be rendered irrelevant. But that's exactly what would happen. And I've already pointed out how they would be rendered irrelevant. And this is the truth I'm bringing you, folks. And believe me, believe me, it's true, because the Bible will back up everything I'm telling you. All the wisdom of Solomon, all the wisdom of Jesus, all the wisdom of the prophets is written therein. Like Jesus said, you know what? You could sum up the truths written in the scripture by this. Just love God above all else and love one another as yourselves. If you do this, it sums up the law and the prophets. You will please God. You will end up finding true happiness. But you've got to step back to this paradigm. Wipe the slate clean and say, God, help me. I want to see through your eyes. Is this guy crazy? Is he just making stuff up? Why is he this wild-eyed idealist, teaching people that they should at least strive to be perfect as their Father in heaven is perfect? Who is this guy? I'm nobody. I'm just like you. I'm just a human being. I'm just as human as you. I have all the failings that everybody else experiences in life. All the sadness and depression, all the temptations and trials and tribulations, all the woes and concerns and fears and insecurities, all the stifling effect that this system imposes on me. I get my share, believe me. And I wouldn't have it any other way. It's like that song by the Rolling Stones, you've got to get your fair share of abuse. Let It Bleed, I think is the name of the song, how he went down to the demonstration, got his fair share of abuse. This is what we do, because we don't want to get away with something. When I drive by a homeless guy in my fancy car, it sickens me. It sickens me, because I want to see through his eyes. So how is it going to make me less sickened if I'm driving an even nicer car and living in a nicer house? How is that going to make my life better? I can't do it while the wealth disparity grows, while poverty continues to increase. I can't do it. I don't want to do it. And I'm appealing to you to not want to do it. I'm appealing to all you that have means to really do some meaningful things in this world. Become God's servant and go out there and set an example for other people. Be benevolent, be altruistic, be a humanitarian. Do the right thing. Okay? Work for God. Work to end the wealth disparity. Show other rich people what you can do with capital and what you really want and whose side of this thing you're really on. Show them where you want to go from here. Show them the kind of world you want to create. Okay? Don't be a pissant. Don't think you're so great just because you're worth billions or whatever the case may be. Okay?